So taking a step back from all the day's conversation around monetization, around commerce, around social media, and targeted advertising, taking a step back to talk about, what's really the first step is establishing a presence in mobile. And that involves, of course, apps. It involves mobile web. We're going to go through a conversation with these individuals who are each kind of attacking this from different angles. Best practices in the different types of design principles for building a mobile website or a mobile app, and then driving traffic to it, the discoverability. So we hope to get very kind of tactical. Why don't we first, because you guys are each, like I said, attacking this from different angles, do kind of self-intros and kind of, for some context, a little bit about yourself and your company and kind of who you serve and who pays you, all that good stuff. Tobias, we can start with you.
Sure. So my name's Tobias Stengel. I'm the CEO of Willow Tree Apps. We are one of the largest mobile-only development agencies in the U.S., and we do all our work here in the U.S. We are really focused on the local/directory space. We've got most of our, well, not most, but a significant number of our clients in this space, including the BIA Kelsey app, if you've downloaded that. Other companies include Valpak, Savings.com, which I guess is now part of Valpak, Manta, and several others. We're paid by those companies to build their apps. So we are the folks in the background that build a lot of the mobile experiences, both mobile web, HTML5, as well as native apps.
So more of an enterprise play.
Yeah, all large enterprise.
Yep.
We're really not focused on generally local businesses. We've got some regional businesses, like we have a pest control company in Central Florida that we build apps for that allow their clients to keep track of all their, how many appointments, when the next pest control visits due. They can send a picture of an insect into the pest control headquarters and figure out if they need to have someone come out. So there's some, but those are kind of regional guys, several hundred employee enterprises, not individual small businesses.
Absolutely. One thing I hope to get into in this discussion is the difference in needs of small versus large businesses and how that translates to design principles and what you're all doing. So Itai, a little bit about Duda.
Okay, hi. Itai Sedan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Duda Mobile. Duda Mobile is a mobile website creation platform. We have today over 1.7 million mobile sites on our platform. Many of these sites come through either partnerships that we have with different companies such as Google, AT&T, and there's also a substantial amount of sites that get created through our do-it-yourself portal on dudamobile.com, where small businesses come and create their mobile site themselves. I think our unique differentiation in the market is that we are able to take any website and convert it on the fly to a mobile optimized site. And the second thing is that we keep the mobile site synchronized with the regular website. So that's a big benefit for SMBs that prefer not to maintain two separate sites.
Makes sense. We'll get a little bit further into that in a bit. Steve, AppStack.
So I'm Steve. I'm the CEO of AppStack. We take a small business's phone number and convert that into a mobile optimized app and drive them customers from people searching on mobile phones.
Nice Twitter length description.
I'm used to pitching to VCs, so I got to get it out real quick.
Annette?
Hi, I'm Annette Tanti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mofuse. We help small and medium-sized businesses to build and manage, most importantly, manage their mobile web presence. We do things a bit differently, and our point of view is different than Duda and Itai, although we appreciate what they do. We actually approach the market with the belief that what's on your desktop website does not necessarily belong on your mobile website. So to us, making sure that what's on that mobile site actually is there for this device, and that just kind of transitioning from the old school website into a mobile site is not what we do. We do it much differently. We also work in the same way at Mofuse in that we work through channels, and we have a lot of large channel partners, as well as having a software as a service platform where businesses come and build their own mobile websites.
Interesting. And I want to get into kind of the customer acquisition strategy you all have too when it comes to channels, self-serve, different levels of scraping, for lack of a better term, to onboard different businesses. But first, let's unpack that a little bit further and kind of the differences in strategy and kind of the sliding scale between kind of high-touch service to build something that is differentiated and kind of building something due to, Itai, to your point and what you're doing at Duda, in bringing together the assets of the desktop and the mobile device. What's your answer to that in terms of having the one-stop shop of being able to have them both in the same place in terms of the same amount of content? I know you are differentiating, and we'll show some slides in a bit, differentiating the design. So there's certainly kind of the mobile-first mindset at play. What other benefits do you point to in terms of having the desktop content also on a mobile device?
So I think the first big advantage for a small business is the speed, right? We don't need to go out and collect content or require the small business to create new content. From their perspective, they have their website and they just want it to look great on any device. And I think through our technology, we enable that conversion in a really quick way. And in addition to being able to convert the content from the regular website, we allow them to add functionality that really caters to the mobile users, things that do not necessarily exist on the regular desktop site, things like click to call and click to maps and SMS. So all these features, the small business can add them through the platform. In addition, we also recommend to think of the mobile user in mind and remove content that they feel might not be necessary that we pulled in from the regular website. So kind of to clean that up, remove the clutter away, and really focus on the call to actions that will drive traffic and sales from your site.
So how much of that is automated, and what is the point of human intervention, and who is that human? Is it a service rep for one of your channel partners, or the SMB themselves, or a Duda person? I mean, what level of service are you providing as well?
Good. So it's never a Duda person. It's either the SMB themselves, if an SMB came to us self-serve, and in some cases we have, or in many cases we have resellers or partners that offer it as a do-it-yourself, as a do-it-for-me for the small business. As we know, a plumber cares about his pipes or whatever, and they won't go. Some of those small businesses won't go into any tool whatsoever. They don't know how to operate PowerPoint. So in those cases, there's a lot of, I think there's a business and there's a market opportunity for resellers, agencies, SEO, SEM. To bundle mobile websites with their offering and use a tool like Duda to create the mobile site for the small business.
And Annette, you mentioned channel partners. Unpack that a little bit in terms of who's doing the actual fulfillment of the building the site, and how is your tool set kind of designed for that end user?
Yeah, we actually have a mix. So many of our channel partners do it themselves. We have a partner program as well, and the channel partners actually do have people that use our platform 24/7 and use it themselves. We also actually offer services as well. It's not a huge part of our business yet, but we do make some good money at enabling businesses with some internal staff that actually build sites. And a lot of that comes down to the design, because it's not just kind of putting it together, but making it really sing and making it look really wonderful.
I want to get into the design best practices in just a bit for all of you guys, both in the app environment and mobile web. But Steve, along these lines of kind of both kind of customer acquisition and the onboarding process, tell us a little bit more about what you guys are doing, because I've been impressed with your numbers at how well you've been able to have kind of the self-serve angle, having businesses self-serve. And what do you offer?
Definitely. So right now, 91% of our customers that we have on our platform never touch their mobile site. But 90% of our customers that we have generate 7 to 9 leads per month from their mobile website, and that's the goal. I'd love for every single SMB to be involved and say, this is what I think we should. This is the deal I think we should run. This is the picture I think we should use. They just don't do it. They don't want to do it, right? So that's like the biggest thing, like for us is like, even like from like websites, it's like a lot of them don't have websites. Most of them don't, right? And most of them have Facebook pages more often than they have websites. So what we said is like, listen, we're going to create great advertising and scale that. From design to the photos to the deals to really data-driven design. So we like, one of the nuggets that we found was Yelp reviews are 4 times more trusted to go to a call than Google Places reviews. We can put their 4-star on Google Places, but that doesn't increase calls. When you put their 4 stars on Yelp, that increases calls 30%. Right? Just by adding that on any other call to action. So if we add the 4 stars to the deals or add the 4-star to the picture or whatever it is, that is an obvious correlation between Yelp reviews and calls versus Google Places and calls. So data like that and designing around that type of data is really what we're trying to scale, not only for internally, but for our platform partners. And we don't want the SMBs to have to touch anything.
Interesting.
That's kind of our goal.
Yeah. Now, you also brought up a good point. There are a lot of businesses that actually don't have websites, or their mobile or their presence is either a Yelp review or maybe a Facebook page, or perhaps their kind of move into mobile is their first presence. Itai, what do you do in those situations where you don't have the kind of content to work with to onboard that process? Is that kind of lessen your addressable market if it's the segment of the marketplace that doesn't have a website? And what do you do about that?
So thankfully we have a lot of we have a very big opportunity with customers who do have websites. I think we are seeing the trend of what is called mobile first, of people who are looking to create a mobile site before they have a website, and shortly we will have a solution for them. But already today, with the amount of websites out there, I believe it's like over 500 million sites, and people stuck without having a mobile solution. I feel that's a much greater pain right now that we're out there to solve.
Okay. So Tobias, I'd like to bring you in here and also transition into the kind of design best practices discussion, because you each are working with different segments of the marketplace, building different sorts of mobile presence. What are the things that you're finding that are kind of mobile first or mobile specific principles to espouse to this audience that might be commonly made mistakes when you're building a website in terms of design, in terms of calls to action, in terms of maybe businesses that go about it the wrong way by not really having a clear idea of what their goals are before they design? What are some of your top pieces of advice design-wise?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, clients often come to us and ask us the classic question, app versus mobile web. And we do both, so we're agnostic. We don't have a dog in that hunt, but I will tell you, everyone needs a mobile website. Every small business, every large business, and it's astounding how many don't have one yet. And then I think the decision is, do you have native apps on top of that, right? So that's the first big thing. The second thing is, when you're designing for mobile, whether it's mobile web or apps, you really got to take everything from the ground up and not just take the content that's on your website and put it on a mobile. And you have to come up with user stories as to why people would use a mobile device. So we've done stuff for like Monticello, which is a big cultural institution in the state of Virginia. People aren't going to do research on Thomas Jefferson's life on their iPhone. They're trying to get directions. They're trying to figure out, is there food there? They're trying to buy tickets, whereas the website has all that, plus the history of Thomas Jefferson's life, et cetera. So you really got to create the user stories. And then after that, you got to figure out what are the aspects of a mobile device. And it's not just the small screen, but it's always on, but it's touch versus click, et cetera, that are going to allow you to meet that user story and hit that mission. And really start with a very dedicated design and requirements phase before you start building anything. And that's in the enterprise market, but a lot of that applies to the SMBs.
Same question, and I'll go in the order of some of the slides that I have. Annette, this is your slide. Same question. I mean, what would you point out as some of the kind of design elements as kind of best practices? I see a lot of click-to-call buttons.
Yeah, I think click-to-call is a big one, obviously, for SMB. I mean, it's a no-brainer that's what they need. By the way, I want also to clarify, you don't need a website at all to use us. As a matter of fact, we focus on that 47% as well that doesn't have a website at all, because we think for mobile, mobile is everything. It should be their first website if they don't have one. Here, for example, Corolla Pizza has a nice coupon that shows. Also, Plates is one of our partners. that builds out using an API that we have, and they've come up with designs, and they basically can use our platform to do that. We work with a lot of franchise, and so Tire Pros is a franchise. They work with our design team to figure that out. The last one is Jerry's shoe. Jerry actually does not have a desktop website. So what's cool about that is he's using what we have, a fast onboarder that's just launching actually this week. And that fast onboarder only takes basically 3 bits of information. If you know the company's address, phone number, and company name, you actually can create a pretty good looking website. Even though Jerry may not have terrific looking images, you can help him along with that. So that's what we do.
Itai, same question to you, and I think you guys provide me with this slide. Yeah. And this is a great kind of before and after, because I think this really drives home the need to optimize for mobile, because on the left, that's an unoptimized site, right. and it's a mess, right? So what would you point out on this slide in terms of the calls to action?
Yeah, and this is a limousine service, definitely one of the most interesting verticals that we're seeing. I believe our statistics show that for this type of vertical, about 40% of visitors to taxi, limousine type of services, mobile sites, actually click on that click to call. So that's the button you see there on the top left-hand side. So best practices, having that click to call really up there on the top, or an email us, or make a reservation if you're in a different type of vertical. A nice big image on the top, and then a very thumb-friendly type of navigation compared to what you see on the left-hand side. Things that you can see that our system has done is basically identify the menu in the original website that was on the left and automatically convert that to a menu that looks like that. We understand the context of menus, so things like where you see airport, automatically an airplane icon was put. So create that type of a personalized feeling. So when an SMB creates that mobile site, they look at it and say, yeah, that's my mobile site. It's not kind of a cookie cutter template based.
Sure. There's a bit of a vanity factor involved in this, which is a traditional driver of lots of forms of advertising, which we can get into. But what I wanted to point out is, I'm not sure if this slide is still current, but you provided this to me once, where when these best practices are adhered to in terms of click-to-call buttons, things like this, you can drive incredibly high call volumes compared to industry benchmarks. The average here being about 18.3%, and in some categories, the one we just saw probably falls under transportation, and that's 27% call rate. What would you say to that in terms of the data that you're seeing? Is this accurate?
Yeah, it is. So this is this is based on a survey that we did of about 500 SMBs on our platform, and on average you see 20% conversion. So 20% of end users going into mobile sites built on Duda actually click on that click to call, and businesses love it. We send them weekly stats reports showing them how many people called them, how many people visited. Yeah. And it really shows the true ROI for a business to have a mobile optimized site.
Now, Tobias, I want to go back to something you said, which was not just the opportunity here, but really the imperative to be present and have a mobile website first and foremost. And if you look at some of the data, there's of course increasing amount of local search happening on the mobile device, and I think that the data that I've been able to come up with is it's a low single-digit percentage of SMBs have that mobile optimized site. So there's a huge disparity there, which says there's a lot of room to grow for what all of you guys are doing. But also, in a lot of cases, on the kind of negative side of this argument, we're really kind of dropping the ball as an industry. Would you guys agree with this? And what's the letter grade you would give across the kind of business landscape, both SMB or enterprise, depending on who you're dealing with, in terms of how well they've done so far with optimizing their presence?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I really think everyone's doing a horrible job, right? It's like no one's doing I don't see really any data-driven design across the industry right now. So one of the biggest things that we've been focusing on is user economics by what kind of phone they have, right? And one of the things we've noticed is that you'll see an 8 times higher click-through rate to photo galleries with iPhone users, right? More sophisticated users, right? And it really just corresponds back to which phones are given free with upgrades, right? And we need to start taking that type of data and driving it back into the design and start serving up different features on the homepage based upon who's searching or what you can assume based upon that phone and what browser type and stuff like that. And I don't really see that being done as an industry standard when the data's there. Everybody here who has, raise your hand if you have website traffic. No, just this guy, right? Right. This guy, like 30 to 40% of his traffic is mobile, right? Like we need to start all looking at that from a user point of view, looking at the consumer and finding out what's key to them. Is it the 18-year-old who just got her first cell phone? It happened to be an Android because it was free, or is it the person on their 4th upgrade who just got the new iPhone a week ago, right? All of that makes a difference into how they interact with your site and what features they go to and how in depth of a search and research they do, and whether it's a day spa, whether it's a plumber, all that type of stuff, right? And that's the kind of stuff that I think like is going to become more prevalent here in the next 1 to 2 years.
Now, and I would be a little easier on the SMBs just because they traditionally lag.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was like 2003 to 2005 when the SMBs really got into having websites.
Yeah, true.
But I kind of feel on the mobile website app side, we're really like 1995 when we were at AOL and we'd get big giant companies like Coca-Cola asking, do I need a website? Now it seems like kind of a quaint question. But now we get the same questions about mobile websites.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've become so advanced at desktop websites and even the most basic things at an enterprise level aren't getting done. Things like A/B testing that have been around for 10 years are not getting done, and it's largely a budget issue. People are going, they're in a tight economy, they went into 2012, they don't have a mobile budget. Hopefully they will for 2013, but so they've got to pull budget from somewhere else, and what that ends up meaning is that we're just way behind on mobile in general for even large enterprises.
Do you think that the acceleration in adoption in mobile, both SMB and enterprise, is going to be greater than the ramp up of desktop, over the last decade or so? Do you think it'll be a more accelerated adoption?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at all the data on anything in mobile, it's a massively compressed adoption.
Yeah.
And I think when it happens, and I think it's starting now, we're getting a lot of demand for enterprise level apps where, large companies are coming, where they're giving all their salespeople iPhones, 10,000 iPhones, and they want apps to be able to do demos. And, and those kinds of things are happening very rapidly right now, and in tablets, probably even more so. So I think 2013 is going to be the year that mobile explodes. And for consumers, it's going to be great. I was half the people that were panelists today, and we're in a cutting edge mobile environment. I would say at least half the companies that I looked up on my iPhone while they were speaking here today didn't have a mobile optimized site.
Interesting.
And we're in the forefront of this,
can you
right?
name them?
I will not name the guilty. But that's kind of where we are. And then if you look at just start searching for run-of-the-mill companies, you're going to find an appalling number that have nothing in mobile.
Now more about the kind of imperative to be there. This is a Google statistic. I mean, these numbers speak for themselves. It's kind of the carrot and the stick. In terms of, your users are going to go somewhere else if you do not have a mobile optimized site. That's logical. And they're more likely to purchase from you, et cetera, if you do. So in addition to the kind of design principles we went over, I think the second part of this discussion is, after this is built, then making it more discoverable. That brings in matters of SEO, whether it be within an app store or on the open web. And then also, search and all those things. Steve, you guys are doing a lot there. I mean, that's one of your differentiators. Tell us about some of your kind of best practices when it comes to not just the design, but the traffic generation, step two.
I think we're starting to see a lot of correlation and starting getting a lot of data. So we found out that the difference between offering consumers $5 to call now and $10 to call now is nominal, right? So you don't. So it's really getting into that type of data set on what type of deals you actually have to provide. But offering a deal that's actually a dollar amount versus a percentage amount, that makes a huge difference. So, and that comes in from when they'll actually click on the actual ad to call straight from the ad, because Google has ad extensions where you can actually call straight from the ad or go to the website to find out more. If you offer a dollar amount off to call now, they're 3 times more likely to call straight from the ad. Don't even look at the website, don't want to browse the photos, don't want to decide that you're not as good looking as they want in a plumber, right? They'll just call you right away.
Now that's not automatically logical. I mean, it is in retrospect. But what do you recommend to people to kind of figure this out? Obviously, do a lot of testing. How did you come across that?
We just do a lot of that's it, just testing, right? So as a company, we're completely mobile focused. We don't do desktop spend. We don't make desktop websites. We don't make responsive websites. We only do mobile HTML5 sites, and we only spend right now on Android and iPhones, right? So that allows us to get tons and tons and tons of data where we find out what Android users do besides iPhone users, users, what drives calls, what doesn't drive calls. So you can say 20% off, and that might be a bigger dollar value. But the point is, they're still going to look at the app, and you're going to have more time for them just to fall out of that funnel of calling your SMB. So that's kind of like, they definitely want to call. It's just about finding the right incentives, whether it's 4 stars on Yelp or $5 off. It's really finding that per vertical, and that data's out there. You just need to find the right formula.
What about within app stores? I mean, there's, App Store SEO is kind of its own little science. And, Stuart also made an interesting point earlier of, a lot of HTML5 sites have, they've built it in that way for certain reasons of economics and other things. But then for the discoverability and distribution, they ended up putting in an app wrapper just so it could be present in the marketplace of, the App Store and other places like that. What are you finding in terms of advice for, discoverability within app stores?
Yeah, it is brutally difficult. Right. It's much harder than anything we've ever seen on the web. We generally advise clients, if you don't have a brand, or you're not going to spend a ton of money promoting what you have, a native app is going to be a really hard thing to get traction with. The mobile web is great for the long tail searches on Google, just for small businesses, for enterprises, et cetera. But for an app, you really need you need to be a large enterprise that has a real brand, like a Valpak that can put it on every, the largest mailer in the US.
Cross-promote the heck out of it.
The app and a QR code, which everyone has criticisms of, but they're getting the word out. Then an app can be really successful, and it's a winner-take-all game, because when you start getting traction, now you get on the top 25 list, it builds on itself. And that's why the app world has become such a winner-take-all, and you've got guys like Rovio, and then you've got 99% of game makers who are really not.
Google also has that new ad unit, though, right?
Who?
Google has an ad unit where if they search in Google's mobile search,
and the
you
app
click
logo,
and it'll take you straight to the
app logo
link.
Is there. It'll take you, and if you're on an Android device, it'll take you to the Google Play Store. Those two. Itai and Annette, do you have anything to add on? Not just what we talked about earlier in building things, but also generating traffic to them. Any advice or thoughts?
Yeah, when we build a mobile site, it's imperative on us to kind of help the small business place what we call this redirect code, which connects the desktop with the mobile site, so that automatically mobile users doing the search, going to the regular URL, are redirected to the mobile site.
Okay.
So
we do the same thing. You have to do that, and on top of that, we add SEO-friendly URLs to the mobile. So search, one good news, I guess it's good news, is that what's transitioned well from sort of desktop web to mobile is that people use these and go to their favorite search engines.
Yep.
And so the small business needs to be found, and guess what? It's also, if they have a website and it's not automatically redirecting to their mobile device, it's going to be a terrible experience. So that's really important that you get the company to use that.
Now, the redirect is a pretty tricky thing, because it requires the SMB to place a snippet of code in their regular website, which is
it's hard to get them to do anything.
It's a little bit of a techie task.
Yeah.
I think the plus side that we've developed several plugins for the most common platforms like WordPress and several others that automate that task for an SMB. And
so we're about out of time. I want to end, though, with an audience question I got here from Twitter, and this is from Chris Fulmar. What are the significant KPIs we're seeing for SMB mobile sites besides click-to-call? Are there any other things? I mean, earlier in the day we talked about directions. Any others that you guys would mention that are resonating with businesses?
So we started creating verticalized click-to-call actions. So things like for the restaurant vertical, which we're targeting pretty heavily, we've just introduced an open table widget.
Nice.
And a single platform, which is a menu widget.
Menus.
So, and we're looking at other verticals as well.
That makes sense. You guys?
So we're launching July 1st, basically where they can, consumers can unlock deals by entering their phone numbers in. And what that basically does, it automatically generates a callback list for all our SMBs to go ahead and say, oh, all these people are interested in you. Right? And you can only get this deal if you enter in your phone number, and we're seeing great results with that. So that's kind of like just thinking outside the box of what's the easiest way to incentivize to get that phone number. Really, because that's what the SMBs want. They want someone just to call back, hey, you were interested in this deal, what do you want? And let the SMB sell them. But that's been our top performer outside of click-to-calls.
Interesting. Annette, KPIs, last thought.
KPI, love this conversation. All right, so we like anybody in our space, we're doing a lot of data dive. We just recently have dived and looked at across all sites. And by the way, we have some rather larger sites. We found that in the past year, the average view across all of our sites, including things like the Atlanta Falcons and the State Department, frankly, everybody looks at about 4 pages on that mobile site. We cut that the other day and only looked at SMB, only looked at local businesses on the mobile web. Clearly, it is 3 pages. So interesting. I don't know what it all means except to say, people are, using the urgent mobile website exactly how you might gather. And for SMB, the number is roughly, they're looking at 3 pages. And a broader swath of, mobile sites, they're looking more, it's trending up, really towards 4.
Mm-hmm. So we have to stop. You guys will be available in the reception after. I'm sure you'll get a lot of questions. And I'll call out my colleagues Rick Ducey and Steve Passwaiter. In the meantime, please join me in thanking this panel.